Welcome to Music Theory Live. This is Tim Duncan. I'm the director of the Digital Audio Technology program at Cogswell Polytechnical College in Sunnyvale, California. And for just a few minutes, I'm going to share with you a technique for creating harmony, for making a harmonization from a chord progression. And it's a very simple technique. There's nothing advanced about this, but it can be effective in the right circumstances, and it's certainly something that you can use and expand upon in a wide variety of ways. Even though the format in which I'll present this will seem somewhat formal, this is actually something that can be used in a lot of different styles and idioms of music. What I'm putting up is just a schematic of how a harmonization might be built, and it is for you to use in whatever way creatively that you would like to make use of. So the starting point of this is some kind of, let's say for now, a simple chord progression. Let's choose a key, maybe for right now, G major. And with that, we'll choose a very, very simple progression. And I'll outline what the chords are in terms of Roman numerals, in terms of how they relate to each other in the key of G major. So we'll do something really very simple, such as we'll start on G, and then we'll go up to C, or 4, which is the fourth note of the G major scale, and then back down to 2, A, and then we'll go to the dominant of G, which is D, and then back down to G again. And so what that gives us then is a chord progression that could be expressed as 1, 4, 2, 5, and 1. And so if we want, we can just sort of sketch out the bass line here. I'll do this in root position. So the bass line sounds like this. And if we did this in the most rudimentary root position way, if we were harmonizing it, it would sound something like this. Now maybe in certain cases that would be the sound that we want. But let's say that instead what we want to do is we want to create a sound that has a little bit more of a natural flow to it, and something that makes use of either instruments or voices that we like about them. So let's just do a little bit of sketching here. And so the way this will work is I'll write the triads for each of these in root position, the treble clef staff here. And so initially it'll look a little clunky. In fact, it will be a little clunky, and the idea of what we're going to do is we're going to take some of the clunkiness out of it. Okay, so here are the 5 triads that we're working with. And the first step on this is to look at these, and I'm just going to be, for right now, working with the 3 parts that are on the treble clef staff here. Look at these going from chord to see if there are any notes in common. So we can see that there's a note in common there, G, between the 1 and the 4. I'm going to actually bring that down so that we can work with it and then tied across like that, okay? So then we have a G from 1 to 4, and then going from 4 to 2, you can see that there are 2 notes in common. The reason why that's the case is that if you look at the root down here, you can see that this is a root movement by a third. And so then going from 2 to 5, once again we can see, in other words, from A to D, we can see that there's a note in common there. So I'm going to bring this one down, as I did before, and I'll tie it as well. And then finally looking at 5 to 1, we can see that there's 1 note in common there. So the steps that we've been following on this are, 1, to write the triads in root position. 2, find common notes or tones between each pair of triads. And the third step is that with the remaining notes, what we're going to do is to try to move the shortest distance, hopefully by step, that we can. So where we are right now is that we have this going to this, going to this, going to this. Let's see, there are 2 common tones here, and there's a common tone there. And then finally, that going to this. Now, one other thing I can do in order to make this move a little more smoothly is I can move this one up to here. So I'll go ahead and do that now. So we have a common tone there, and so then the note that's left over is there. So we're actually just about there. This is how easy this approach is. What we're doing is that once we find the notes that any 2 triads have in common, then we're looking to see if all of the other parts, all the other notes going from one triad to the next, if they move the shortest possible distance, which would normally be by step, in other words, from D to E, or E to F sharp, or F sharp to G. And so we can see that that is in fact the case, and also here B to C, C to D, here G to A, and A to B. So actually our work is just about done. So let's move down on to the next staff, next system here, and let's put all this together. So we have and so then I'll put the bass notes in. Okay. What we started off with was something that sounded like this. which, as I say, works for some situations. By connecting the common tones and connecting the other notes by step or the shortest possible interval, then what we ended up with was, in the top parts, something that sounds like this. And we put the two together, what we have is which has a lot more flow than what we had at the beginning. If you had, for example, some kind of arrangement that you needed to do where you needed to add some strings, add some horns or something like that, then you could actually just use that as is. And you could use them in various ways. In other words, you could use them as punctuations. Kind of thing. Or you could use them as a pad. But another possibility is that we might want to have a little bit of sound also in the middle register. So let's do one more thing, and that is that we'll take one of the parts. In fact, I'll take the middle one, this B to C to C to D. I'll take that and I'll move it down an octave. So I still have the same line on the top that I had before. So I'm going D to E, E to F sharp, and then F sharp to G. And then down here I'll still have C to C, G to G rather, and then A to A, and then to B. And now we're going to drop the other part down an octave. So that one's going to be on B here, and then it's going to go up to C, and then that's going to stay on C, and then we're going to go up to D, and then we'll do another D, and then once again the bass will do G, C, A, D, and then back to G. So now we've got a little bit more spread. This version over here we call a close voicing, or closed, and this one is open. So we have a couple of possibilities. The open voicing is a little bit richer sounding. It's also a little bit harder to play on the keyboard, but in any event, this sounds like this. And so we have then our open voice harmonization. So once again, the three steps are to write the triads in root position. Second is to find common notes or tones between triads. And the third is to find the shortest distance between adjacent chord tones. Usually that's a step. And then we can put it all together and you have a harmonization. Now this is just a schematic. It could be adapted in a lot of different ways, as I mentioned earlier. Many people that I teach this technique to, they work primarily with a sequencer or in a computer. It's very easy to enter this either through the sequencer, through recording it as MIDI, or through step recording, or you can use the actual music notation aspect of your sequencing program, enter it that way, and then as a sequence you can hear how it has come out. You can change the parts, the voices. You can adapt it into some particular musical style. So that part is the fun part, and it can go in as many ways as there are people to work with it, to use their imagination. So I hope this has been useful to you, And thank you for watching this short presentation on how to harmonize a chord progression. Thank you.